Okay, so I want to start by reviewing some of the problems that I had asked you to do for your homework yesterday. And so you have this homework guide attached. And so basically, what it said for your homework. So if you're looking at your homework from yesterday, if you're not, get it out. Hopefully, it is sitting there in front of you. I did not require you to send me a copy of the homework yesterday. Just kind of give you a chance to get started into this new way of having to do classwork. But today I am going to ask you to do that for me with the assignment I give you today. But let's take a look at these. Now, the instructions here was to divide using synthetic division and determine if it was a factor. Now remember, if your remainder came out to equal 0, like it did here in number 2, then it would become a factor. So basically all you're going to do is take that -1 here, change the sign and make it a +1. Then you're going to take your coefficients of x to the 4th, 2x cubed, -5x squared, 3x and -1, and line them up here. We're going to bring that one down, and then you will multiply this one times this one and put it here under the 2. And then 2 plus 1 is 3. 1 times 3 is 3. -5 plus 3 is -2. 1 times -2 is -2. 3 minus 2 is 1. And finally, 1 times 1 is -1, and it's zeroed out. So we were able to say the remainder is 0. So yes, this is a factor. Okay, so now if we looked at number 3, you would have had a remainder, or no, that one was a factor as well. So I didn't work all of these out, but I do have a good many of them already worked out. Now with number 4, it was not a factor. So what we did is took the x minus 5 right here, and we changed the sign to a +5, then our coefficients. Now with this one, we had to annex in a 0 because we did not have an x squared. So remember, you've got to annex in a 0 when you have a squared. So we have 2, 0, -45, and -7 as our coefficients. So what we did is we just brought down the 2, multiplied 5 times 2 to get 10. Then you have your 10. 5 times 10 is 50, -45, +50 is +5, and finally 5 times 5 is 25, and -7, 25 is 18. So, not a factor, the answer is no. Okay, so you should have gotten for number 5 that it was a factor, that this was a factor. Because numbers 5, if you'll notice the instructions here, it says find all the factors of the polynomial. So remember, we talked about the difference between factors and roots. Factors are in the parentheses. Roots are when you take all of the factors, set them to equal 0, and then solve. And the roots actually tell us where we are crossing the x-axis. So if you come over here to number 6, we'll take that negative, or that +1 here at -6, change it to a -1, bring down all of your coefficients, and then use the synthetic division. -2 times, -1 times 2 is -2. Then +1 minus 2 equals -1. -1, -1 is +1. -2 plus 1 is -1. And -1, -1 is +1. And -1 and +1 is 0. So now we see that, in fact, x plus 1 is a factor. But now we've got to find the other two factors. So what we're going to do is replace the x's and what we got here by taking this x cubed, dropping it a power, and bringing it in. So now we'll say x cubed minus 1x minus 1. So just decrease. And then we're going to factor this. And so you can use slip and slide, whatever works best for you, but the factors come out to be 2x plus 1 and x minus 1. So your factors are all 3. It's going to be x plus 1, 2x plus 1, and x minus 1 would have been your factors. Okay, so uh, number 7, your factors should have come out to be x plus 1, x minus 2, x plus 2, and x minus 3. Now, I will tell you, number 7 is more complicated. In a test, I would not give you an x to the 4th power unless I went ahead and gave you the first 2 factors and then had you work it out from x squared. So here, number 7 would have required more work. Now, here we have the same thing with number 8. This one's going to require more work. But as you can see with this one, what makes this one easy is that we do have a difference of a square. And we know for a fact that x plus 2 is going to be a factor. So really all you had to do was take the square root of your first term, x to the 4th, which is x squared, the square root of your last term, 16, which would be 4, and then put your plus and minus. Then the x squared minus 4 is also a difference of a square. So we're just going to take the square root of x squared and make that x and the square root of the 4 and make that 2 and 2. And then don't forget, I showed you the very last step of how do we take the difference of a square when I have an x squared plus 4. Well, here it's just going to break down to be x plus 2i and x minus 2i. So here we're going to make imaginary numbers out of that. So we'll look at some more examples of that today.